I witnessed, recorded, and produced these videotapes of the Washington, D.C. hearing. Their authenticity is above question.
This is produced as part of the ongoing work on the website, thewaythetruthandthelife.net.
This is a hearing about the government licensing the electrocution of people to cause grand mal seizures. Think of the millions of dollars, taxpayers' money, spent to pay psychiatrists and their supporters and for the worldwide travel in putting this conference together, while the victims and opponents had to pay their own way.
And your name is?
My name is Don Weiss, from Toronto.
From Toronto, Ontario.
Yeah, Toronto, Ontario, right.
And what brings you to Washington, Don?
Well, like George, I'm here because I'm a shock survivor, but not of electric shock, something that's pretty much just about as terrible, called insulin shock. I had insulin subcoma shock, except I went into a coma once. That was many years ago, so they don't usually give insulin shock now, but they did for 30 years.
Do you by any chance know what the rationale was for subjecting you to that treatment?
Their rationale I never did find out, because like George, they never, you know, they bullshit in the name of science, you know. They never gave me a straight answer about what insulin shock does, what it's supposed to do, what its risks are, what the alternatives were. In other words, no consent to still going on for survivors or victims of shock. No one is told the truth about the risks. And they didn't tell me I might go into a coma where I thought I was dying, which actually happened, which was intentional, I may add, just as it's intentional to damage people's brains to electricity.
Well, haven't they agreed now that that is not even effective and oftentimes harmful, and therefore no longer subject people to it?
Oh, you mean the insulin shot?
Yes.
The reason why they stopped that was because they started to get embarrassed, the shock doctors, by too many deaths. It wasn't. And also they found that electric shock was faster, so that's why they stopped.
Well, let me ask you, if you would have argued to one of the psychiatrists subscribing the coma therapy and said that you didn't want it and didn't need it, what would that doctor have said to you? Have you ever done that, and do you know what they responded?
Have I ever refused?
Said that you didn't think it was good for you.
Well, if I had refused, which I didn't try to do at that time, I was in McLean Hospital outside of Boston. If I had actually refused, then they would have given it to me anyway, and I wouldn't have been allowed to go to court. This was in the 50s. To protest. I'm not sure whether one time I did refuse. I can't even remember. But I felt it'd be useless anyway.
Have you ever heard doctors describe? I'm seeding the question here. Have you ever heard doctors describe patients, as they call them, who resist their therapy as just symptomatic of their mental incompetence?
Exactly. Anybody who gives them a hard time, or who refuses their great treatment, their brain-damaging treatment, is called uncooperative, a difficult patient, unmanageable is another, and they're the ones who really get the worst treatment. Once you're labeled, known as a difficult patient in the health professionals' terms, or uncooperative, or in the United States they call it, in fact in Canada probably treatment resistant, they really give you the business. You'll get more of the same drugs or shock, or being kept in longer, and may end up in solitary. Now, I know a friend of mine who's the co-chairperson of the Ontario Coalition to Stop Shock. He went to Centenary Hospital, a general hospital.
Now wait, let me ask you a question and give some background before that. What have you been doing for the last few years in your life?
When I've been able to get a job, I usually get one is doing the research on the psychiatric system and to write. That's what I've been getting paid the last 2 months as an editor.
Have you held any?
As an editor of Phoenix Rising, our magazine.
Who's our?
The magazine Phoenix is published by On Our Own, the first self-help group of ex-psychiatric inmates in Ontario.
Now, have you had any association with that group?
Oh yeah, well, I helped to start it with 2 others, at least, and I've been active in it ever since. My activities now are confined to the magazine, the editorial collective.
And this is where your friend that you were speaking of, that you know your friend from?
No, I met him in this new group I'm a part of too, called the Ontario Coalition to Stop Shock, which was inspired by the work of the Coalition to Stop Shock in Berkeley, right, which helped stop shock for a while.
How did they help stop shock?
No, I'm saying the coalition in Berkeley.
Yeah, I just wondered, you said they helped stop shock for a while.
Well,
what do you mean?
They did, because as many of us know, they got the city, they got a referendum on the ballot in the city of Berkeley election in 1963, I believe.
Is that correct?
Sorry,
63?
in 1983.
1983.
And the citizens of Berkeley were allowed to vote on whether they wanted shock or didn't want shock in the city of Berkeley. This was called Measure T. It was a referendum. And 61%, as Leonard Frank has told us, 61% of the voters voted to stop shock.
Well, what happened to that referendum? Okay, go ahead.
And then what happened is that the shrinks in California got upset, and they felt that was very unjust, and this treatment shouldn't be denied people, and they got the judge to order an injunction against the city of Berkeley, which issued the ban against shock. So it's still in the courts.
But so the courts have intervened to say that a referendum cannot halt the use of shock treatment.
Yeah, so that means that the ban is null and void, that the ban doesn't exist anymore until the judge rules finally. Now the city of Berkeley, with the Coalition to Stop Shock and other groups, is protesting the psychiatrists' action, which resulted in the court injunction against the ban.
And you also have a group in Toronto.
That's right.
That is dedicated to this same purpose.
That's
is that
right.
correct?
Yeah.
Now, let me ask you, George, do you have any organizational affiliations that are activists for any of these causes?
Principally the Mental Patients Alliance, and also the coalition, New York State Coalition to Stop Electroshock.
Now, is that a legal organization?
The Mental Patients Alliance of Central New York Incorporated is a non-profit organization based in Syracuse.
Is this something that an American citizen could send money to and it would be tax deductible?
It's my understanding, yes.
It has not-for-profit status in New York State. Yes.
The same thing in Ontario. We live on our own.
Yes, I wanted to ask you that.
I just thought I'd say
Don, if someone in Canada wanted to make a tax-deductible contribution,
it's tax deductible.
The organization that you're associated with is a not-for-profit organization.
Exactly. It's officially registered like George's group, like the Mental Patients Alliance is a non-profit charitable organization. And anybody that gives us a donation, and we can always use them,
well,
get a tax receipt that they can use to deduct from their income tax.
You mentioned being editor in a magazine, Phoenix Rising.
Yeah.
If someone wanted to subscribe to that, where would they write to?
Here it is. Here's a copy of the current issue, which deals with women and
Now,
psychiatry.
is the address on the front of that that I could get a close-up of? Is it anywhere inside?
Wait a minute. The address is right here. You can get a close-up.
Would you
of this?
bring it close to the camera, please?
You can get a close-up, maybe just. Oh, there.
Hold it right there.
You can get a close-up. Yeah.
Well, move your finger over a little bit. You can't quite see the one. Okay, let me hold it there. That's mailing address, P.O. Box 7251, Station A, Toronto, Ontario, Canada, M5W 1X9.
You got it. Very good.
All right, and how often do you publish?
We We try to get our magazine out 4 times a year, but we have really a small staff and volunteers. So, but we get it out about 4 times. And the next issue is a really important one on the impact of the Canadian Charter of Rights and Freedoms, which is like the Constitution
Now,
in the United States. It's part of our Bill of Rights. The Charter is our Bill of Rights, and this issue coming out in July, that's July of this year of '85, will deal with the impact on the rights of people in psychiatric institutions in Canada. And very, very important. And we've got some articles written by leftist type of lawyers, or lawyers who feel strongly about the lack of rights. We have articles written by some of
When you say leftist, do you mean that this is a political group? It is associated with the Communist Party or something like that?
No, it's not.
What did you mean by the use of the word leftist?
Well, people who are not in favor of the traditional or right-wing type of political activity that's going on. Actually, very, very few of the lawyers who are writing for the charter issue of Phoenix are that way, but so maybe I shouldn't have used that word to describe them.
Did you mean human rights advocates?
Well, what I meant, yeah, is they're more sensitive to the lack of human and legal rights for inmates.
Well, that word is sometimes used in a political sense, and I didn't want to have that confused.
Although I am very political, I don't mind my saying that.
Well, obviously you've spent enough time and energy to come to this conference in Washington. I'd like to thank both of you. I forgot to get one piece of information in the short interview here, George, but would you tell me, does your organization put out literature?
Nothing regularly.
But do you maintain a mailing list of people that you communicate with when you do have a mailing?
Yes, we do.
Would you accept, if someone was interested to get a copy of your literature, would you like them to send their address to you?
Send their money.
Yeah, I think that would be good. That we would be able to.
And if they wanted to, they could contribute to your not-for-profit corporation.
They could also do that
to help stop shock.
We also have a documentary video on electroshock that we sell for $25. It's half-inch VHS. It's about 30 minutes long. Rather than getting just someone sending a donation.
And
we'd rather have them send for the video and show it, use it, or.
The address. You better tell about.
So the address.
That's the address.
Yes.
For the shop.
If they wanted to purchase this videotape.
If they wanted to purchase the videotape, they could send their $25 to Coalition to Stop Electroshock.
Coalition to Stop Electroshock.
Box 875.
Box 875.
Ithaca.
Ithaca, how do you spell that?
I-T-H-A-C-A.
I-T-H-A-C-A, yes.
New York.
New York, and the zip code is?
14850.
14850. And they could purchase a copy of this videotape, and they would have to send you the, can they get this in beta or VHS or both?
Just VHS. Both.
They would have to tell you what format.
Yeah, they'd have to tell what for. We presently have half-inch in stock with VHS or even 3/4 inch. Would have to be a special request.
Oh, I don't know what kind.
I'd like to just ask you a few questions.
Fire away.
And what is your name?
Leonard Roy Frank.
And where are you from, Leonard?
San Francisco.
And what brings you here to Washington today?
Well, there's an Electroshock Consensus Conference, and we're here to protest the fact that the entire conference is pretty loaded in favor of pro-ECT.
Pro-ECT, what's that?
Electroshock. And we've also been given the opportunity to, in some limited degree, to present our views on electroshock, which are very much at variance with the prevailing view not only at this conference but throughout the country.
Well, just briefly, have you ever personally experienced this type of treatment?
Well, I had electroshock in combination with insulin coma treatment back in 1963.
And at home now, are you engaged in any organizations that have to do with this subject matter?
Right. I'm involved with the Network Against Psychiatric Assault in Berkeley, California, and also Madness Network News, which publishes a journal, the longest-standing journal in the psychiatric inmates liberation movement. We've been publishing regularly since 1972. I've been involved.
Do you have any idea of how many listings there are on the... Oh, pardon me.
You're interrupting.
I've
been involved in Madness Network News since its second issue, which came out, I think it was in the fall of 1972.
Now, are you the same person that published a book on the history of electroshock?
Yes, in 1978 I edited and self-published the history of shock treatment.
I've seen a copy of the book. Now, could you, just for the sake of anyone that would watch this to get some idea of the scope, Leonard, do you have any rough idea on what the number of people that are on the mailing list of Madness Network?
Madness publishes about 2,500 copies per issue, and our mailing list, I believe, is around 1,400. And,
is this a state?
The mailing address for people who might be interested.
Yes, I would like that.
Getting a subscription. It's Box 684, San Francisco 94101.
Box 684, San Francisco, and what's the zip code?
94101.
94101.
Right, and the subscription rate is $14 a year, and for...
How many copies?
It's 6 issues.
6 issues.
Actually, I should say it's $14 for 6 issues, but you might not get 6 issues over the course of a year. We usually publish about 3 issues a year. So that would run about a 2-year period.
I see. Now, would you characterize the readership as a local city group, state?
No, it's more like an international reading.
You have subscribers in a number of countries?
You bet. In England, in Holland, in Iceland, in Australia. We have quite a wide geographical cross-section, yes. But most of the people are in the United States. A lot of subscribers in Canada as well.
Now, Don, who I spoke to a little bit earlier, mentioned a referendum in California to stop shock. Was the Madness Network involved?
The Madness Network was a part of a coalition of organizations that were fighting electroshock in the city of Berkeley, and what we did was put a referendum on the ballot that made electroshock a misdemeanor in the city of Berkeley, and it in effect prescribed the use of electroshock under penalty of 6 months in jail and or a $500 fine.
Well,
and the voters of Berkeley, when they had the chance to vote on this issue, they chose by a margin of 61 to 39 percentages against the use of electroshock in their community. I was following a very, very intensive educational campaign between our organization, which is the Coalition to Stop Electroshock, and the American Psychiatric Association, which joined this battle once they saw that it was perhaps detrimental to their interest in pursuing the use and continuing the use of electroshock.
Well, from a previous interview, it's my understanding now that the American Psychiatric Association has been able to get an injunction against that referendum passed in Berkeley, and it's now in the courts. Is that correct?
Right. There was a judgment issued against the electroshock ban, and the matter is now on appeal in the state of California, and we expect to have some kind of ruling on that from the higher court within the next 3 to 5 months.
Well, now if someone wanted to contribute to these educational efforts, is that something also that to the same address, donations for the effort to stop shock
right, it's the coalition,
would be welcomed?
the Coalition to Stop Electroshock is accepting contributions, and they can be used very, very well because we're involved in a very intense legal battle right now, and our funding is short. So if people are interested in supporting that effort, they can do so by sending a check to the Coalition to Stop Electroshock, and they can do that in care of Madness Network News.
So the same
for San Francisco 94101.
Oh, pardon me, I interrupted you again. That was the same address
as Madness Network
News, but to the Coalition to Stop Shock. Would you say that?
The check should be made out to the Coalition to Stop Electroshock.
Ellen, could I just ask you, would you state your name and where you're from?
Oh, I'm Ellen Field. I'm from Irvine, California.
And what's your age, dear?
71.
I didn't mean to be condescending there.
71.
Yeah, I wouldn't have known it.
71. I've been resisting psychiatry now for half a century. I started when I was 20.
And is it true you wrote a book?
It certainly is. I published it in '64.
What's the title?
The White Shirts, meaning that it's very like the black shirts and the red shirts, and that the psychiatric power is similar to that.
Are you still selling copies of that book?
Sure I am. But not many. It's a collector's item by now. They're mostly gone.
How much does it cost?
I don't have a set price. I take what I can get, and some people I give. As I said, I'm still giving away copies.
Would you like to state an address where people could send if they were interested?
Yes. I have a post office box in Irvine.
Post office box number?
4132.
4132.
Town Center Station.
Town Center Station.
Town Center Station, Irvine, California.
Irvine, California.
92716.
92716.
Right.
Thank you.
Gee, thank you.
Excuse me.
I don't want to be in.
No?
Would you like
I just don't like having
company?
my picture taken. This has nothing to do with
Well, you're
anything
leaving now? Are you leaving?
Well, I'm getting in the gate.
Oh, I see. You're not leaving.
Get behind me.
I am, but
Can I interrupt just to ask your name?
What, you want to talk to me?
Yeah, what's your name?
Kim.
And where are you from, Kim Gormley?
Want to see my press pass? I'm from Ithaca, New York.
Uh-huh.
Let me button up. New York.
Thank you. Is there anything else you'd like to say?
that's very
Yeah,
suggestive.
hire me. Somebody taking me a job.
To do what?
To do media.
To do media?
Be a documentary producer. In
You're
that case, I hire myself. So let's just put it this way. Give me money.
okay. What credentials do you have?
Spirit.
And what products do you
After a
have?
while, you just don't need to state your credentials anymore. You know?
What products do you have the person might view to see the type of work?
30-minute documentary called Electroshock, about electroshock, about like 15 interviews with ex-inmates, psychiatrists, pro and against, and psychotherapists, and advocates.
Uh-huh. Did you want to state an address where someone could send for that?
No, because by the time, if you ever get this done, probably it's so far away that there's no way I'll get forward.
Did you just recently graduate from college?
Yes, did you? Do you have a test to give in 3 days?
Yeah.
So wait, now I teach you something. You gotta get the Dutch angle. This is the Dutch angle.
What's
You don't want to just get talking heads. You wanna kind of like bend down, way
Here,
down.
you interview me.
All right, we'll get you from the Dutch angle. Wait.
Show me the Dutch angle. I see the red light blinking, so it's on.
Who are you?
I'm Donald Johnson.
Keep talking.
I'm from Buffalo, New York. I'm here in Washington to attend. Oh.
Okay, now.
I'm here in Washington to attend the conference on it's titled Consensus Conference on Electroconvulsive Therapy.
The light's on you in the wrong way. All right, now look at me. Very good. Go ahead, Don.
June 11th. and the conference.
Why are you interested in this?
Because I know from personal experience and from talking to many other people that this is an intrusive procedure that in my belief system should be banned, as arcane as many other treatments like lobotomies or torture, a form of torture.
How do you know?
Because they did it to me against my will and terrorized me in the name of helping me. Well, actually, the doctor didn't even bother. He just demonstrated it was because he was angry.
Tell me.
Pardon?
Tell me.
The doctor threw me in a locked ward for arguing with him when I told him that I thought lobotomies were an inhumane thing to do. And he said, "Do you think you can do this job better than I can?" And I said, "If it comes to knowing enough not to cut up a person's brain, sure." And with that, he went and got 2 eggs, threw me in a locked ward, kept me locked in isolation overnight until the following morning, and gave me electroshock.
Can't kill this.
One shock treatment can equal 150 joules of energy. This is equal to dropping a hammer on someone's head from higher than a 5-story building.
At the FDA hearings, the testimony on the reclassification of electroconvulsive devices cited the literature as whether signed or false, typically about 150 joules of energy in a treatment. With the new Thinotron electroconvulsive device, if you check out at 400 volts, maximum of 0.9 amps, and 320-some millisecond pulses.
Could you finish up your question, your remarks?
Yeah, I would like somebody to tell me. I'm a teacher as well as a physicist, and I brought a kilogram with me. Teachers like to demonstrate. Now, this is a kilogram. It's 2.2 pounds. Heavier than a hammer I used to hit a nail. That I wonder if possibly like Dr. Stein could tell me how high I would have to drop this kilogram from in order to have it hit the ground with 150 joules of energy.
I don't know if that question is in the purview of the panel, but thank you for your report. I'd like to go on to the next person.
This is only 10 joules of energy. You're talking about dropping it from higher than a 5-story building. That's physics. Supposedly in pre-med backgrounds.
Thank you.
I never got it.
All right, out with your gun. Huh? Out with your gun.
Okay, this won't hurt. It'll be over in just a moment.
Uh-huh. What's that?
Conductant.
Oh, dab will do you. Right, Mr. Jackson?
Open your mouth.
What's that?
This will keep you from biting your tongue.
Well?
Now just bite down on it.
Oh.
That's right. Just bite down.
Huh?
Now bite down on it.
Good. Are you ready?
Ready.